Masahito Soda is the coolest name of all time. Like, imagine attendance in school and every day some teacher would call out Soda. I think that's so cool. Oh, and also he's an incredible mangaka, responsible for some of my favorite series such as Capetta, Firefighter Daigo, and Dance Subaru, all of which land among some of my best reads, but unfortunately have gone relatively unnoticed in North America due to a lack of English accessibility and translation. Though Capetta did receive a decent anime in 2005 and Dance Subaru a live-action film in 2009. Though all three manga have wildly different genres and themes, they hold one thing in common. Each follows an extraordinarily talented person with natural aptitude and instinct for their chosen field. Dance Subaru outlines the paradox of an extremely talented person who is hopelessly bored. With her twin brother dying, 5-year-old Subaru spends every day in the hospital dancing, as it's the only thing that will make him smile. Convinced if she improves at dance, Cosmo will get better, she skips her daily visit and instead learns ballet with her friend Mana. Upon her return, however... That's right, she found her hysterical parents crying over her brother Cosmo's death. Traumatized and blaming herself, she stumbles into a ballet troupe and begins to learn the art of dance, discovering she has an eccentric talent for it. Firefighter Daigo is all about someone with a sixth sense which defies all reason. Rookie firefighter Daigo Asahina is an energetic and passionate about joining the force, though quite inexperienced. With no fear of death, he throws himself into chaotic fires on hunches in order to save lives that no other firefighter would do. Despite being scrutinized heavily by his superiors, Daigo is unfazed and continues to trust his overwhelming instinct that always seems to know what's going to happen before it happens. Capetta is similar to Subaru, but bears more resemblance to a different manga, Ashita no Joe, despite being about racing. Both feature a protagonist with an unexplainable drive for the sport and desire to win. Racing is to Taira, the main character, what boxing is to Joe. What's unique about Capetta compared to Subaru is it's about a person with exceeding aptitude and passion for a sport, whereas Subaru doesn't have that much passion. We'll get to that later. With a combination of the two themes from Soda's other manga, Taira exhibits the unexplainable instinct on the track like Daigo, along with the genius aptitude of Subaru. The three manga define Soda as a writer, defining his unique style in different ways. To complement the respective extraordinary protagonists, the other characters in his series pale in comparison, though that's to be expected when each manga is named after its main character. What the side characters succeed in, however, is playing the straight man to the genius. It's like watching an American football game where one quarterback is significantly better than the other. It creates clarity about what extraordinary talent really is. In Capetta, a 16-year-old Taira blows away his adult competition with inferior vehicles and experience. While the drivers and crew are in disbelief, he'll be upset about a minuscule mistake which often didn't affect the outcome of the race at all. He's a perfectionist who can actually achieve perfection. What other drivers may settle for as, "That's the best I can do, it's good enough," Taira considers a failure, only accepting a perfect race. The opposite can be said of Subaru, who cares only for personal enjoyment and gains next to nothing out of the performance itself. By her first part in a dance troupe, she's hated by both the choreographer and other dancers. They're unable to keep up with her rapid growth and talent, and she's impossible to dance with. Think about a basketball game, where one player is so good that he can score by himself on nearly every possession. It gives the team the best chance of winning, but sucks for the players around him who are forced to create their entire game plan around the style of one specific player. Other dancers must keep up with Subaru's erratic yet breathtaking style or risk bombing the whole performance. They're prisoners of someone else's talent. Not only is she hated for her style, but her personality and attitude as well. After giving a world-class performance, she's able to shrug it off like it's nothing. Not a care in the world about what's going around her, it's a representation of a self-absorbed genius. You see people like this in the media all the time, whether it's professional athletes, politicians, or other influencers. Everything comes so easy to them, they're unable to empathize when others struggle with issues mundane to themselves. Unequivocally, no matter how rude, narcissistic, petulant, or egotistical Subaru acts, she's pardoned due to the overwhelming value of her talent. The world of professional dance is separate from morality. If a theater or studio denies Subaru to her personality, all she has to do is find one who prioritizes ticket sales over everything else, and boom, she's got a job again. Modern day comparison is found in America's professional basketball league, the NBA. Teams will often ignore blatant red flags concerning a player's character and off-the-court actions, just for a small chance at stardom and relevance. Most notably, in the past 5 years, superstar Kyrie Irving has bounced from team to team after releasing statements about the earth being flat and refusing to be vaccinated during the pandemic. Yes, these are not good statements. In most cases, you'd assume someone like this would be avoided and shunned by much of society, but the reality is that he's made hundreds of millions of dollars and inspired fans from all around the world. Fans and management alike are willing to ignore that he's out of touch with reality because of his overwhelming talent on the court. Not that that talent has helped too much recently. The same can be said about Subaru, who's recognized and respected for her dance. Though not explicitly stated in the manga, I believe Subaru suffers from some form of mental illness, such as borderline personality disorder or PTSD. Her emotions change so drastically, and it's noted how she's very quick to cry on multiple occasions. Her extreme emotions stem from her twin brother's death as a child. The trauma from her brother leads to an eccentric obsession over the art of dance, which acts as a double-edged sword. It infused her with a staggering talent for any form of dance, ultimately trapping her in that career path. Everything in her life revolves around the dance that she's put so much time into, except all of that reminds her of her dead twin brother and emotionally abusive mother. All day, every day, her job and hobby remind her of the most painful moment of her life. Thus, society forcing her into becoming a dancer due to her talent amounts to an unimaginable amount of cognitive stress. She later develops a victim complex, and when the event from her childhood is exploited by the media, she's infuriated. Whether intentional or not, Soda has given us the perfect representation into the psyche of the top 0.1%, whose path through life is generally unobstructed. In stark contrast to Subaru, Daiga Asahina of Firefighter Daigo is a cocky, immature piece of shonen cliche. Fresh out of the academy, he's eager to become a firefighter to live out his heroic fantasy of saving people from a fire, just like how he was saved from a fire as a child. Quickly humbled and realizing the reality of being a firefighter, Daigo must go through the hero's journey to become a proper firefighter like his idol Gomi and Captain. Soda showcases his wide range of storytelling by drawing a different type of story, but still maintains the theme of a wildly talented person. Now, Daigo is less of a talent and more of a reckless knucklehead whose rare instinct allows him to be successful. Anyone else with his attitude and personality would be an atrocious firefighter and wouldn't last longer than a month. It's because of his unique instinctual talent that his flaws can be looked past. Sound familiar? Well, Daigo is not given nearly as much leeway as Subaru. In a controlled environment such as a fire station, Daigo is constantly being scrutinized and criticized by his superiors, mostly for being reckless and ignoring the protocol to do his own thing off his instinct and hunches. I'd compare his character to someone who's the eye of the storm, a person where stuff just happens to them. I'm sure we've all had that friend who repeatedly finds himself in an unimaginably comedic situation, leaving us all wondering how they ended up there. Whether it's forest, bush, or house fires, Daigo tends to find himself in the most pertinent and dangerous position, but miraculously saving everyone along the way. Partly because Firefighter Daigo is a shonen compared to Subaru as a seinen, events tend to fall in favor of the main character to appease the target demographic. Beyond the scope of Soda's themes and narratives, his art is stunning. Clean, clear, his drawings are best at expressing the passion and emotions felt through his characters. The immense shading and detail that goes into each panel is unmatched by any manga I've ever read. Dance Subaru in particular contained many characters that looked beautiful, like real dancers on stage. Contemporary dance is all about aesthetics, and he nails this to a T. Can you tell Subaru's my favorite of his three manga? It is. Furthermore, his character design is so unique, any panel is instantly recognizable as his work. His only comparison is to Naoki Urasawa, mangaka of critically acclaimed series such as Monster, 20th Century Boys, and Pluto. Though my personal favorite of his is actually Happy. It's hard to describe the similarities between Urasawa's and Soda's art, but looking at them side by side, it appears as though Soda was inspired or maybe coincidentally drew similar looking characters. I'm not sure because they started around the same time, with Urasawa being just a few years earlier, so they might have just coincidentally drawn similar things. But regardless, when a mangaka is being compared to Naoki Urasawa, you know they've done something right, as Urasawa is widely regarded as one of the best authors by critics and audiences alike. So why doesn't he have the same attention? Well, it boils down to a translation issue. Much like Adachi Mitsuru, only one of his works has been published in English and it's already out of print. Both Dance Subaru and Competa were never given official English translations nor publication, and Competa actually remains unfinished in the English fan translation, with only 27 of the 32 volumes available. This is partly the reason why I discussed it less than the other two series, as I haven't actually read the ending yet. Nevertheless, Masahito Soda provides a breath of fresh air with his unique stories about talented people and is totally worth a read through.